You can also be patriotic and not expect everyone to sit there and just adapt to you. To me, the beautiful part of where we are is because we take so many cultures in and allow them to take their place and then evolve into what American culture changes into. If not, then we would still be fucking buggies and cowboys. But we constantly adapted.
That would be pretty sick.
We adapted the French culture. We adapted Chinese culture. We adapted Hispanic culture. We fucking have Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
Fucking majority of our food, none of it's American.
Despite everything I've said, I do appreciate Taco Tuesday.
Okay. But goddamn it, like come over here legally and bring your fucking tacos.
But you don't want to go to a taco truck. Because you want to go to a taco truck that doesn't have their food.
I want my tacos made by an illegal.
I don't want to read the menu. I want to go.
I don't have an issue with people coming here. I really don't, and I want to make that clear. I
understand that.
It's numbers and it's assimilation and I think. There's kind of two views of this country, right? There's a view that America is like it's a concept, it's an idea, it's, and I don't share that view. We're a country with our own history. We have ancestors within this country. We have unique cultures in this country that are not present anywhere else.
Then why don't we do only natural born, heritage born people can become president of the United States? You cannot be. You can't be. You can't. You can't bring in a culture.
I guess my first thought would be to prevent someone with an allegiance to another country.
No, but
becoming president.
But you can't be like
I mean,
your
if
parents.
you immigrated from Saudi Arabia when you were 30, and then 5 years later you ran for president.
But you can't do that, right? You can't.
No, we can't.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that might be a pretty good reason why.
No. What I'm saying is that hey, listen, if your family migrated here. If your grandparents migrated here, you're not homegrown. You're kind of a migrant. Your culture.
Well, we call it generational. You're a first generation.
Okay, so you can't be a fifth generation American. You can't run for president because we need to make sure that your soul culture. That your soul culture.
That's not true. You just have to be born here.
I'm just saying, like listen.
Let me read Chris's comment.
You just have to be born here.
I'm trying to pay attention over here, brother. Yeah. So if you went to a country with the intent to spend the rest of your life there, you should probably learn their language.
Oh, you brought up
fair point.
So you brought me back.
Thank you.
So you brought me back to where I was going to say is I was just with we were just driving around yesterday or the day before, me and Lauren, and I literally said to her, I said, you know what's crazy? And to me, it does blow my mind. And again, I know where you obviously it makes all the sense. But to me, just from I don't believe in blurred fucking in lines and
you don't believe in countries
and entitlement. I believe in countries, but I believe in a world. Okay, and humans.
Well, what about
I'm not a globalist at all.
But I feel the globalist thing in the sense of, hey, listen, hey, listen, man.
All right, Klaus Schwab.
Hey, listen, man.
Schwab on the fucking
I don't like what's going on. I travel over to Ireland. And I say, you know what, man? I really fucking like this here.
Yeah.
I can't just fucking move there. Yeah. Like there's all this whole process, and it's like, that is a little crazy to me.
Yeah.
That people can come here, but people can come here to work.
They want to preserve
You can come here and work for 4 years. And then we can just tell you know what? I know you got an apartment here. And I know you have a job here.
You want all the richest people from China just to move here and push us out of fucking Florida?
Why do you think so many countries?
But again, I get, but that's what I'm saying. I get where there's laws.
Everyone will be pushed to fucking these like middle of the country if we're even able to stay in the country. If it's just a completely open country, it's not going to benefit the poor the most.
And that's where the open countries. That's not.
Well, you said the blurred line thing. That's why I took issue with because then it's kind of like treating borders as if they're just like.
Well, I could take philosophy and differentiate it from law. Okay. So to me, feels like my philosophy is that people are people, and to stop like the entitlement of where I'm born matters so much, and that hey, listen, if people want to come here for a better life, they want to come here to escape something that's going on. They come here and they work. They come here and they go to school. They come here and they do all this, and then they want to be part of this country, and they're not criminals.
Yeah.
Then what the fuck? Because I see these bums every day that were born and raised here that aren't a betterment to our society.
Well, supply and demand for one. A lot of people want to come to this country, so you can't just say this. Like you're using like this like emotionally charged example, and I understand those exist, but the reality is like we do have to have some kind of organization on who's coming into the country, so we know who,
right?
And then also just so it isn't unfair. I mean, I'm of the mind I don't think we should be devoting all this money, and it seems like the Trump administration's coming along to this view as far as like we shouldn't be spending all this money trying to hunt down fucking illegals. That's crazy shit to me. Now, if somebody breaks a law in this country, we find out that they're illegal. I think they need to go. Like, and I mean, if you just find out somebody's illegal, technically, I have no issue with rounding them up, but these like campaigns to round up illegals in cities and shit like that, I think that's just a little silly to be devoting money towards that when we're trying to cut down government costs. And there's so many other places that our money could be better used, in my opinion.
It's not my number one priority, but sure. I don't think it's a waste.
Well, even there, but so, and that's fine. That's fair for you to feel that way. But even the Trump administration, I was reading last night, now they're the whole self-deport thing. So they're moving more in that direction where they're talking about even raising that amount is what I was reading last night, because that's like a week old that they were going to pay people $1,000 to self-deport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so now to even churn out even more interest in that angle, because it's, I guess, cheaper for them to pay somebody $1,000 to leave rather than go through the whole process. Use the
resources
so like what
you're
saying as far as the court thing. Just while I'm talking, because I didn't want to interrupt your guys' conversation earlier, because I took issue with your original analogy. I thought it was a really interesting analogy, and it kind of made me think as far as like the stealing thing. So kind of the utilitarian kind of like concept.
Like you have principles when you have the privilege of having principles.
Exactly. And I understand what you're saying, but I think that when we start to, and I see from an individual standpoint to where that's very accurate, but then it kind of puts us in a position to where, well, the government's never really tethered. You know what I mean?
Right,
like
to a principle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In reality, it's like, and you kind of touched on this a little bit when you said you don't really view America as, ideas or the shining capital on the hill.
We have ideas, but we're more than that. Was my point.
Exactly. Which I think that one of the great things that America does do when they're not being the world police, a closer version of that is kind of put forth some kind of. I'm a little bit of a colonialist, I'll say. Like I've realized this talking to my liberal friends. Where I'm like,
we've had this talk.
I think that there's actually some good that comes from that. As far as like, I'm not a globalist either, but I do see like when people like paint colonialist powers and shit like that as an automatic like an empire and negative. I don't necessarily see it as that, because I do think that there's a lot of people in other countries that we could maybe help in humanitarian ways and make their country more livable, rather than just saying just flood here, run from your fucking country, come this way.
You bring up
yes
the best point. Okay. And this is a point I've tried to make, and I wasn't trying to cut you off.
No,
sorry.
Please, no.
Your point about the root problem.
Yeah.
The root problem. Okay, are you helping individuals by allowing them to immigrate here? Yes. You're also condemning everyone else that is born in that country people are fleeing for eternity unless that problem gets solved.
Okay.
And who is going to solve the problem?
Yeah.
It has to be the citizens of that country. It cannot be us. There are quite a few examples of that. Vietnam is one of them. More recently,
okay,
y'all remember Iraq and Afghanistan?
Yeah. Okay, but we've talked about how that wasn't just about. Look, you can't go into the Middle East and say, "Hey, listen, the way that you've lived your life since the start of the Bible is wrong, and you need to do what we do." Okay, but you look at Saudi Arabia and Dubai, and they've adapted more of the American culture when you look at their cities. Okay.
Well, we don't need to export it by force.
No. But what we know is that there were some personal benefits being at work for that. Mm-hmm. That wasn't just us going in to help where Bill Gates is in Africa to help with polio and the mosquito and West Nile and all that.
Well, it's because it's a delegation process. You're putting you're putting a fucking like puppet government in place, which also happens, or you're trying to give the tools to that country in order to facilitate it on their own with as much help as we can offer. But I mean, I do worry that we don't have the resources. We're stretched thin at this point. It's kind of how I feel.
And I agree with that. But Rwanda.
To me, the problem is not that we don't allow illegal immigration. Mm-hmm. In regards to Mexico, the problem is the cartels and their economic situation. That's why they want to leave Mexico.
Okay. So,
and take any other country with a major issue. They want to leave it because there are major issues in the country.
Okay, so
and those aren't going to be solved.
Okay, so see
until they're solved.
So see, this is, and again, I'm not pushing back on that. Where my pushback comes is that we focus on certain groups so much, and again, that's part of the
because certain groups
of the immigration process
have problems.
But
that other groups do not have.
Do you think that we should be able to? I thought of this earlier. Do you think we should be able to profile people based off like their race, for example? Because the Hispanic thing, I didn't want to cut it off.
Not race, but cultures are definitely different.
Well, no. Just because the reason I asked that is because we talked about earlier the 90-10 problem. If it's mostly Hispanics, and you guys touched on that. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Okay, so when you guys were talking, I didn't want to interrupt, but now it seems a little relevant as far as like. You were like, well, of course you focus on the Hispanic problem because that's the big part of the problem. But in order to do that, are you going to, like for example, Arizona caught a lot of heat like 10, 15 years ago because they were asking people and they made it legal to ask people for their
citizenship.
It's tough.
So do you think that's something?
I think that encroaches on people's... yeah, I mean it's tough because it's gonna start encroaching on their civil rights, which I think is wrong. I think once you identify but
that's why due process.
Yeah. Once you identify it,
okay,
yeah, but.
So going to saying, hey, is your name Paul Balcom
and Mexican and saying, hey, are you fucking illegal?
I
don't think that's right.
Or what's been going on?
It could go to that level,
that's
though,
not
obviously.
my claim.
But you have issues.
That's why I wanted to clarify.
But you have situations going on where these people are going up and saying, hey, is your name Gabriel Gonzalez? Yeah. Okay. And then next thing you know, these people get detained, and it's like. Okay, but you're looking for someone completely fucking else. So why not go through this process?
Well, that needs to get fleshed out. My point is like the year-long legal battles. That's my point about the due process. Obviously, if you hem someone up, you better fucking verify you got the right. I'm not saying.
Then we need to fix that process.
Exactly.
It's not a closed. To me, it's not a closed down thing.
Yeah,
it's a fix that process.
No, expedite that process. Okay, what you're saying is a great point, and I think it ties to the root cause problem. We're starting. So where we're saying, where we're saying like let's help address the root cause for the people in their home countries. Let's also address like some problems we have here, which I think we would all agree that the legal system is fucked.
Oh, we got lots of problems.
And I don't want to.
Which I would rather focus on than other people's problems.
I don't want to derail this. I agree with you. I don't want to derail this, so I don't want to get off into the weeds too much on this. But like, for example, we don't have enough people to work our legal system. Why not make something like college more affordable to people who are domestic residents here, for example? So we have more lawyers.
I'm open to that.
And instead of giving other country students all these grants, because brother, like these universities, they give more grants, and again, it's because of the legalities of our scholarship process also. To foreign doctors and lawyers and people going into school, which again, I believe in both situations being available.
Shout out to you, Chris. I appreciate you.
But where I wanted to say, like we're hitting just the cartel. We have got to stop being so fucking ignorant on white gangs. Okay, for example, I've grown up watching every fucking glorification of the mafia since I was a child to now. Yeah. But yet, black gangs have always been such an issue. When both were an issue, the mob was sitting there.
They're both idolized.
Well, and also white gangs. White gangs are
of rap, not all rap.
100%.
A lot of rap is the
I'm saying the white America.
But also the RICO case came about and things like that. Like so, like it's not like as a society we just accept white gangs.
I know, but I'm saying it's glorified.
Yeah, John Gotti was like a celebrity.
Fucking bro, Scarface is everyone's favorite movie. Godfather's everyone's favorite movie. Tom Hardy's in every mafia movie now.
But hold on, Paul. Just because I mean it's an interesting thing. I don't want to get too into this, but this is an interesting topic that I would like to talk about. But I completely disagree with you because it's like we idolize black gang members too. Like rappers will be like, "I'm in the Bloods," and how cool is that? Look at all the people with red bandanas behind us. And people
it's all wrong.
But I'm not. It's all. But that's what I'm saying is it's all wrong. But you have the same people.
To our culture.
But what I'm saying is from what I've experienced by being what I look like, how I am, and people talking to me freely, is that the same people who have an issue with the Bloods and Crips, the same people who have an issue with black violence, are perfectly fine and love Al Capone. And it's like, but both were bad. And it's because which we glorify, but all that. But what I'm going further into, is stuff like motorcycle clubs. Yeah. Okay, we act like, oh my God, all that shit's so cool. My favorite TV shows that when they're pushing fentanyl in your community. We have a bar here in Charlotte County that is very prevalent. Everyone goes to. Cops frequent to. That people leave there. And what I've heard from a couple customers who are bikers who've gone there, that fentanyl is pushed. in drugs
That's
here.
crazy.
And it comes from some biker gangs.
Look, Paul,
so my whole thing
what's
is
your point, brother?
My point is that when we have this conversation, we focus on the cartel. When we talk about immigration, it always gets turned to fentanyl, drugs, cartel, gangs. And my thing is, I agree, but we also had that issue here that it's not nearly as addressed.
Well,
and that's
you know what's
problem.
funny is a lot of American gangs are subservient to the cartels. The cartels utilize American gangs to not manufacture, to distribute. Thank you.
Is it against their will? Like what I'm saying is like, so you're saying that
probably
the
by force? I would imagine so. This we're talking gang shit.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not.
Well, either way, though, I don't understand.
You know what else they're doing is they're using our Indian reservations.
Yeah, but
because we don't have the same level of jurisdiction on them. Wow. So the cartels have infiltrated. This is something actually tribal leaders
I haven't seen this at all.
Interesting.
Yes, because they've essentially made it. It's huge in Montana because Montana has a ton of Indian reservations, and our government can't. Initiate.
They have no jurisdiction.
We abuse our power,
and they take advantage of it. And they take advantage of it. Yeah. But that came from Mexico. Now, are Mexicans not involved with the cartel? I'm not blaming innocent Mexicans about that.
Yeah.
But it's a problem coming from Mexico.
So, but where's fentanyl stuff coming from? It's all coming from Mexico?
Well, China's providing the precursor, and then Mexico's producing it and manufacturing it.
Okay, because I've always made the argument that I have
you got to do some digging on the cartels.
That I have a cousin. I have a cousin in Alabama that cooks meth. Most likely. I mean, I have family in Alabama. I can assume that one of them is cooking meth. Okay, the weeds grown in California.
This guy that said
it. Okay, weeds grown in
white hat.
Weeds grown in California. Okay, pills can come from Canada or just Arcadia's pharmacy.
Yeah.
So it's always to me the whole cartel, the whole fentanyl thing, as big of an issue as it has been so glorified for
because
political
it's literally
reasons,
one of the biggest criminal
so.
Organizations in the world, Paul.
But if that wasn't the thing, then what would the Republican Party have ran on?
I don't. That's not even the point of why I'm bringing it up. I'm bringing it up. My point is it's destabilizing Mexico.
My point is that
causing millions of people to feel the need to flee across hundreds of miles of desert to get to a new country.
To me, I just feel as
that's a problem.
Again, yes, but again, I feel we also have a huge surge of UK citizen requests from U.S. citizens because people want to flee our country. So it's not all just because of bad.
The scale of that is not even.
But it's still. But I'm just saying, so we can always paint the picture.
You're trying to equivocate it, but they're not even close.
No, they're not close. But what I'm saying is that yes, people flee for whatever reasons. Yes, it's cartel.
They're not fleeing our country
bad.
due to
no
fear,
one's saying
Paul.
no one's saying that the cartel is good.
White people are not fleeing to the UK because of fear.
I'm not pro. Oh no, that's not true. People fear. People fear prosecution.
Yeah,
they feel political prosecution of what the country will turn into.
All right,
so
I'm not.
Rosie O'Donnell's scared.
I won't dog
again,
people.
I'm not saying that they're all right, but that is the thing. So, and again, I'm not pro cartel. Okay?
No, I would never.
I'm
make
against
a claim
organized crime. I am anti all organized crime.
That's not what you guys thought, right?
But what I'm saying is, I feel as if the media on the right painted it out as the only issue that we have, or the largest issue on scale. When to me it isn't. My street does not have the cartel just riding down the fucking street.
But do you think it's something that needs to get dealt with?
Yes, but on a long list of things.
I mean, I
and
agree.
it was not the most important.
So
to me, the most important was Americans' health care.
So it's a prioritization issue. That's it.
Sure.
Then
which comes from the media.
We could stop this
additional question with the immigration is the people that have been deported because of the showing support to Hamas, supposedly.
Right. Which that's
so
what we
people
talked about
from on college campuses and stuff, organizing protest events, being deported from that. I'm curious your guys' opinion on it.